and welcome to episode 52 of the Little Drops of Wonderful podcast. My name is Ali. I'm in Kent in the UK, where I live with my husband and our two daughters who are 14 almost. I don't know why I said 14, she's 13. She'll be 14 in March, and 9. You can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as Starry Eyes Ali, and all the notes and timestamps and everything you need for this podcast are underneath in the description box below. So if you want to jump to any particular section or you're looking for a bit of information, just look there. If it's not there, just drop me a comment and I will let you know. Before I get started, I need to show you my mug, but I just need to make it look a bit cleaner than it is. It's not that it's not clean, it's just I've been drinking from it, so there's tea stains all over the lobster that I want to show you. So this is my mug from Cherie. We did an advent swap, and as part of that advent swap she gave me this gorgeous mug. It's got a lobster on it, and I love lobsters, and it also says all you need is vitamin C. Which is so true, and one day I will live by the sea. And I don't know if you can see in there, but there is a lobster inside the mug as well. So it's really big as well, so you can get lots of tea in it. Okay, I'm going to do a bit of a life catch up at the end so we can get stuck straight into the podcast proper. But I just want to say Happy New Year to you all. 2020 is already the 13th. Which means we're already halfway through the first month, which it means this year is racing by the same as last year. Welcome to new and old subscribers. There's a lot of you joined me throughout Vlogmas, and I really appreciate that, so thank you. And I'm really glad to be getting back to the first podcast of the year. Okay, shall we get stuck straight in with finished objects? Oh, we're going to be talking today about finished objects, works in progress, some plans, some incoming stuff, some sharing the love, and then I'm going to talk about my word for this year in the and finally section, and talk a little bit, give you a bit of a life update basically, and that's what's going to happen. So let's see how long that takes me. Okay, finished objects. My first finished object I don't have with me, and I don't even know if I've got a little video or picture of it, so I might have to cover that next time. But I finished my Festive Llama, which I have been making for about 3 years because I keep putting it down, and this Christmas I finally finished it and hung it on the tree. So hopefully we'll be seeing a little picture or a video of it somewhere. I can't remember the pattern designer either, so this is completely pointless to start off with really, because I don't know anything and I don't have it. So we move on to something a bit more final. Let's talk about my Full of Minis hat, which is living in this very Christmassy bag. This is my bag that arrived with my swap that I did with Lily of the Nordic Stitches podcast, and also the Lily of Norway podcast. We have done an advent swap every year now for 3 years. We always include a bag, and she made me this lovely festive bag this year. And this little pin here was in some gifts from Annette, who is a very lovely viewer of this podcast, who sent me a surprise gift advent this year. And this little reindeer I thought looked perfect on this bag. And in here I have been making the Full of Minis hat, which is a pattern by Barbara of Knitting I Love. I have been using 3mm needles for this. I've used all of the minis from my advent swap with Cherie, she who gave me the mug. We did an advent swap this year as well. We swapped 24 5-gram minis, and I made the Full of Minis hat. And where I fell short with some of the colours, I topped it up with this cream, which was also from Annette, who I just mentioned. I've also got all the tea, stitch markers, and all the information about the yarn in this bag that were in all the little pouches from Cherie. So I need to sort through that and put this on Ravelry so I can put all the colours in there. So you'll be able to see the names of each colour. So I'm going to have to put this on in order to demonstrate it. I'll just check in the mirror. Ta-da! I love this hat so much. It was a lot of fun to make. It took me ages because I've basically worked on nothing but this since I started it in December, and I finished it last night. The only thing is missing is it does need a pom-pom. As you can see, the top goes quite crinkly, and that is you don't see that once the pom-pom's on. I'm not going to make one. I think I'm going to buy a really nice fluffy white pom-pom to put on here. Because of the way the pattern is, you knit this with fingering weight yarn or 4-ply yarn, but it's so thick because obviously, as you can see, they're little folds. It's such a thick, windproof, warm hat. And as such, I can't really hear what I'm saying because it's over my ears. It blocks out all the sound. Yeah, it's so snug, so comfortable, so cozy. I could not, oh, do you know what I should do? I should do this like Barbara, shouldn't I? So Barbara, who's Knitting I Love, she designs a lot of hats. The difference is she's absolutely beautiful. And when she's made a hat and she does a little video about the pattern, she always shows the hat. So I'm going to do it like Barbara. Hang on a minute. Here we go. How was that? Nothing like Barbara. She does it beautifully. You can hear that whirring, the dishwasher's just finishing off and it's going to beep in a minute as well. What else can I say about this hat other than that it was brilliant? I used all 24 of my minis and I only used a tiny portion of the last one up here, so I've still got a little bit of it left, which I shall put into my corner to corner scrappy blanket, which I'm going to talk about next time. And I can't stop squidging it, so I keep doing this. And it's brilliant, and I'm now going to take it off and my hair's going to be bananas. Right, I'm sure my hair is completely bananas now, but here's a little close-up so you can see how squidgy it is. Yeah, absolutely love this, and I would be very tempted to make another one. It'd be nice to make it almost just in 2 colours, so it's just stripy. I think that would be lovely, and the more contrast you have between the colours, the easier it is to do the little folds. It is a paid for pattern, so I won't say any more than that, but I absolutely love this. I'm so glad it's finished. I'm going to order a pom-pom and get that on so I can start wearing it immediately, and I hope it gets really cold and snows. Okay, that's my first finished object. Well, second finished object, but the only one I've got here. The next thing I wanted to show you was a sewing project. And it is some bunting. Oops. Oh, I forgot about that. Oh, I'm going to show you that in the incoming. So I did a 12 days of Christmas swap with my friend Sarah. And we've done this, I think this is the 3rd year we've done it, and I'm just going to have my last mouthful of tea before it goes cold. Yeah, it's the 3rd year we've done it, and each year she gets more and more inventive and fabulous at wrapping her minis, and every year I do the same thing. But this year I mean, when I say do the same thing, I don't mean I also get more inventive, I just wrap them in the same way I did the year before. But this year she wrapped all of her minis in little triangles of fabric, Christmas fabric, and she included this spotty bias binding so that at the end, all I had to do was iron out the triangles and sew them to the bias binding. And I thought, I'm going to do that right away, so then I can put it away, ready to put up for Christmas 2020. So I have already made my bunting with the little triangles from my Advent swap with Sarah. I was well impressed with that. It didn't take long at all. So that is my Christmas bunting, which I think we can count as a finished object. Right, shall we move on to works in progress? Okay, the first one I'm going to talk about is my Advent shawl. Now, I stopped work on this when I started work on my Full of Minis hat. I apologise if I'm knocking the table and you're wobbling. I'm trying not to. It's a bit hard though. I have to use the table. Okay. Oops. So I've still got about 5 or 6 minis to put into this. I may have to stand up to show you it. This is my Advent shawl that I have been making with the minis that I've got from Lily in our swaps over the last 3 years. And I've also added some little French Meadow minis from like the Christmas Mini Scheme Club and also I think I added the minis from my first year's swap with Sarah as well in here. And I think I'm just about ready to call it finished. So what I wanted to do when I first started this is I wanted to make a really lovely, easy, no brain work project that I could just sit by the Christmas tree and easily work my minis into on a daily basis and not get behind. I know I've got a bit behind this year, but that's because I was making the hat, so I'll let myself off that. And I'm so glad I did. And I didn't want to make a granny blanket just back and forth. So I decided to do a triangle one, and I'm using a pattern by Annaboo's House. It's called, I always forget what it's called, and it's a really simple name as well. It's like the granny, I think it's called the granny wrap. It's a free project on her blog, and it's actually made for a bulkier weight yarn, and I'm using 4-ply or fingering weight. I'm going to stand up to show you how big it's got over the last 3 years. Yeah, it is a glorious riot of colour, and I love it. And basically what I'm going for is I wanted it to be like a wrap, but almost like a blanket wrap, so really big, but for the sofa. I won't be wearing this like out and about as a scarf or something, but I want it to wrap around me for when I'm knitting, or just, you know, sitting reading. Or even, you know, to take on journeys in the car. I want to put it on without getting tangled up in yarn. If I put that down there, just to demonstrate the size of it. So I think we've now, because bear in mind I've still got a few minis to go in, I think we've now reached the point where it can be a wrappy blanket. What do you think? Again, not so good at modelling the things. Yeah, so I'm really happy with it. There's a few ends to weave in, but I will also be really sad to not be making it anymore. And I think Lily and I have already agreed we're going to do our swap next year. It's kind of a tradition now, so I think I'm just going to make another one because I've just loved it. And who was it? Someone messaged me very recently. Oh goodness me, who was it that messaged me on Instagram and said, sent me a link to a post by Emma at Potter and Bloom, who had written a post about doing a similar thing. It was a triangle sort of scrappy project, and she'd written a post about how it was about letting go of perfection. I'm going to put the name of the person who messaged it to me, because clearly my brain has just shut down for a moment, on the screen, and I'm going to put a link to that post underneath because I thought it was really interesting, and it really struck a chord with me because that is what this project has been about. It has been like, I open the mini and I put it in. I don't pay any attention to what the mini was before or where I'm adding it. I just tie it in and off I go. Actually, I don't tie it in. I overlap the colour for about 3 or 4 stitches to bring it in. And because of the size and the nature of the project, even though it creates a slightly bulkier bit, you don't notice it. So let me see if I can find a colour change to show you, to demonstrate what I am on about. Here we go. So it creates a slightly bulkier bit. So you can see we're going from a purpley one to a neutral one here. But you barely notice it doing it like that. And I know it's really secure. And then I've just got a couple of ends to weave in, but I don't have to be too careful because obviously they're already all completely knotted in with the stitches. Yeah, so I'm going to put a link to that post below because that is why this was such an enjoyable project. It just had no rules, no perfection, no worrying. It was just pick up and crochet, and it has been a joy to make over the last 3 years. And I'm definitely going to make another one. So that's my Advent shawl, and it's all living. Oh God. I'm very aware I'm probably wobbling you all over the place. Ooh, and dropping yarn. So I do apologise. Tell you what, I'll get this all back in the bag and then I'll talk again. Right, it's back in the bag. This is one of my dodgy bags. Less said about it, the better probably. But you will notice I've got a new pin on it and I love this. Right, I was going to talk about this in incoming, but I might as well tell you now. Can you see it? I'm filming this blind. There's no mirror behind it and I don't know what I'm filming. So hopefully you can see that. That is my BIPOC in fibre pin. And I got this and a couple of others. And I don't know where I put the others. I think I put them in my podcasting box, but I don't have them. But this one I thought really went nicely with this bag. I don't know, I'm holding it like this. And they are, I received this because for my tier of crowdfunding for the BIPOC in Fibre project, which is a project that was created by Jeanette Sloan. She's a black British knitwear designer. And the BIPOC in Fibre project is going to be an interactive sort of resource or a list of BIPOC, or as we say here in the UK, BAME, knit and crochet designers, dyers, weavers, spinners, podcasters, tech editors, anything to do with the fibre and craft, that industry or that community. It's going to be a list of everyone to help people find them, or get, to lift them up basically. They're also going to help festival organisers to be a bit more intentional about bringing in people from the BIPOC community into the festivals as speakers, teachers, vendors, that kind of thing. They're doing great things, really positive things. I was really happy to support them, and I can't wait to watch and see them grow and do what they're doing. So there you go. I was going to tell you about that in incoming, but now you know about it now. Okay, my next work in progress. She says, shamefaced, is my Strictly socks. It's living in my lovely bag from Sarah. This was the bag I got from her in our last year's swap. Yeah, let's just say work on these ceased, and I am a bad Strictly sock alonger. I am making the very, very gorgeous pattern by they're the Downtown Shorties pattern by Gladwin. I always forget her real name, but she is Sweet Lavender Knits. There's no point in me showing you this because it's a terrible black and white copy, but I will show you where I am so far, which is probably where I was the last time I showed you. Oh, I'm using some lovely DPN holders, again by lovely Suzanne at inside number 22. I've got quite a few of these, so you will see these popping up in different patterns and sizes and so on for my DPN holders. And then my fabulous cloud cloud DPN holder from Eva at Coco and Flora. And one of these is actually going to be a prize, which will be announced in the Strictly Sock Along prize. Oh, I didn't say that at the beginning, did I? The Strictly Sock Along prizes, I'm going to do it as a separate video because I've already recorded that and it's probably running to almost 25 minutes and I know I'm going to be rambling here. So if I can fit it into the end of this video, I will. But if not, I'll do it as a standalone video. So I'll put a note on the screen to let you know. God, it's already going off the rails, isn't it? Anyway, one of these DPN holders is a prize. And I know who's got it already and you don't. You have to watch the video. Stop being childish. Okay, my Strictly socks have got this fabulous glitterball stitch marker by Felicity at Ironbridge Yarns. And the lovely, lovely yarn. Let me see if I've got the label. Oh, this makes me sad. It's by Little French Meadow. You've heard me talk about Little French Meadow an awful lot because I absolutely love them. This particular yarn is called It's a Disaster, Darling, which you have to say like that because that's how Ellie at Craft House Magic says it. It's a disaster, darling. And the yarn is so gorgeous and an example of why I love them so much. They have stopped dyeing. I can't bring myself to talk about it. I'm only joking. It's a good decision. Whatever they want to do with their lives is fine. They don't have to like factor in whether or not I'll be sad about them not dyeing anymore. But anyway, I am sad. It's such a perfect yarn and pattern combination because the yarn is so highly variegated. It's really picking out the different colours in those slip stitches that run all the way up the leg and down the front. Oh, just love them. I'm making these as shorty socks because they're going to be for Lilia, who wears little shorty socks all the time. Although I'm quite tempted to keep them because they're so beautiful. But I know because she wears them all the time, you get to see them all the time. It's just so lovely. She wears them around the house. So yeah. So I haven't got very far. And now I keep saying yes, and now I've thrown a DPN holder on the floor, or even a DPN. Bear with. So, there you go, Strictly socks. I think just pop those to one side, and what I'm going to do is now that I've finished monogamously working on my Full of Minis hat, I'm going to choose my next project to monogamously work on. And my next project's actually going to be Dan's socks, because I want them ready for his birthday, and I've been knitting them for over a year. I'm not going to talk about those now though, I'm going to talk about those now. I'm going to talk about those in the next episode, which will be 2 weeks today, because I'm going to try and film every 2 weeks. I've even got it written in the diary. So fingers crossed that I actually do that. Okay, my next work in progress is going to be my seal. Now this was a bit of an accidental work in progress. I happened to have the yarn, I happened to have the hook, and I thought the project looked quite easy, so I thought I'd make it. And it's the one that is on the front cover of Zoomigurumi 8. Now, you've heard me talk about these books a lot. I love these books. I've been lucky enough to be given some as well by the publishers, but that was long after I'd already fallen in love with them. I had several of their books before I got that offer. This is one of their later ones, so I just love Amigurumi. I've made a lot. I make a lot for the girls and as gifts, and I just find these books fantastic. I wanted to make this little guy on the front. I thought, oh, that looks quite easy. What a cute little seal, I thought. Now, the yarn that is called for is, what did they say? Sport weight yarn. Now, I don't know what I've done here, but I've got a feeling I might have accidentally started using a DK weight yarn. Because what I have is something that is going to be very cute, but it's not going to be very small. So I've made the main body of the seal. So now I've got to make the flippers and like the tail, which you then sew on. And then all that's remaining after that, I've just realised something as well. Can you spot the deliberate mistake? It's a good job I haven't weaved in the ends, isn't it? I haven't put the safety eyes on. Oh, poo. What a banana. I've even marked where they're supposed to go, but I haven't put the safety eyes in. But I haven't weaved in the ends, so I can get back in there and get the safety eyes on. Oh, but it's so tactile. It's so nice and tightly stuffed that you just want to do this to it. I love making amigurumi in cotton because it's such a smooth yarn, it doesn't bobble, and it just keeps it looking nice for a long, long time. Yeah, so this is going to be my little seal. I don't know what colour bow he or she is going to have yet, because I don't know who I'm giving it to yet. So really the colour of the bow will determine, the person I'm giving it to will determine the colour of the bow. And it will go to either Lilia or Phoebe. I just haven't decided yet. I won't know until I meet the seal, when it's complete and I can look at it and go, aha, I know who that belongs to. I had run out of yarn last time I talked about this. It's Drops Musket, which I'm pretty certain it's yarn group B, which I never understand the Drops yarn groups. I'm pretty sure that's DK. But it's this one. It is in the colour 19, which is like light grey. And I ordered some more so that I can get on with it. And I am using a 3mm hook, which is quite a small hook for the yarn, but it means you get a nice tight gauge, which is what I want. And it's all living in my Hannah bag. I made this quite a long time ago now. It's really handy because you can keep stitch markers on it. It's just a crochet bag that I made up. I held several yarns together to make it, and I've put some little decorations on here and a tassel because it's inspired by Hannah, Hannah from Sheep's Alley, and she always loves to put a tassel on something. So that's where it's living, and it's just living next to my bed because if I go to bed early with a podcast, this is what I'm working on, which is probably why I forgot to put the eyes on, because I was probably distracted. Okay, there's a load more whips, and if you've been watching for some time, you'll notice quite a few are missing, but because I'm going to be podcasting more regularly, I hope I'll be able to cover those in the next week or 4. Yeah, so either in 2 weeks' time or the 2 weeks after that. The My Favourite Jeans Top by Detroit Knots, that's lovely Natalie at Detroit's Knot, I'm still stuck with, and I've kind of hibernated it because I was getting frustrated. So I really need to pull that out and make decisions about what I'm doing. Dan's socks I've just mentioned, I'll talk about those next time. And I also want to talk about my corner to corner scrappy must-stitch crochet blanket next time as well, and just talk about my plans for that and how I'm going to grow that a bit, because I've really put that to one side recently and I need to pull that out and do a bit of work on it. So I'm going to talk about that next time as well. And I'm also going to talk about some future plans, because at the moment I'm kind of in a kind of getting things finished mode, which is great, but I am starting to feel that little itch of, you know, right, what am I going to start next, either crochet or knitting. So I'm going to talk about that, a bit about that next time as well. Right, shall we move on to incoming? Now, I've had so much to share over the last month or so during Vlogmas, so I've shared a lot already during those videos, and I'm going to try not to double up on those, and I've got plenty to share in the coming months as well. So what you're seeing now is just a small bit, and there'll be lots more to come. So first I wanted to share, well, this is what I just found that I completely forgot about, because I wasn't allowed to share it during Vlogmas, but now everyone's got them, I can. And I've got a So Ray Me pin. It's by Rachel of So Ray Me. She has got her own enamel pin. How gorgeous is that? So she sent this to me with a little parcel of gifts during Vlogmas, but I couldn't talk about it because it hadn't been launched at that stage. So I've got my very own So Ray Me pin. Thank you so much, Rachel. And the other thing I wanted to show you was, I talked earlier about doing my swap with Cherie, my Advent swap, and we also, as part of that, we did a little gift for Christmas Day. So obviously you haven't seen that. And in my gift was this amazing bag. Look at that gnome fabric. I love gnomes. I feel like I need to make one of those gnome things, the knitted gnomes or a crocheted gnome, to put in my gnome bag. And she's got her lovely Ollie and Bella stamped ribbon there. And on the inside, it's got this lovely autumnal acorn fabric. Oh, it's just such a lovely bag. You're so clever, Cherie. It's just beautiful. And inside, there's all kinds of things. So I've got a little washcloth, a cotton washcloth. So I can't wait to use that. That's going to be lovely. And this was on the parcel itself. I've got a little tag with my name on, so I'm definitely going to hang that. I dream of having a craft shed, and I always joke with Dan and I say, oh, that'll be lovely in my shed, won't it? So I'm hoping maybe this year, I don't know. We've talked about it a lot, about maybe building a little garden office, like, well, it'd be my office, shed thing at the bottom of the garden. So you never know, I might get my craft shed. She put in some lobster socks because I love lobsters, and it says "You're my lobster" on. And there's some tea, cold infused tea, Vaseline, which is great because I use a lot of this on my lips and on my nose when I get cold. She put in a little cross stitch. I can't remember the last time I tried cross stitch, but this is a mini one, so it can't be that bad, can it? I can't mess that up too much. So this little mini cross stitch thing, so I might give that a go. It's something different to try. And she's put in this gorgeous little book, and she's put project notes on the front, so I can keep all my important project notes. Shoot for the Stars bath bomb. Oh, so lovely. Phoebe actually had this one, and she used it the other day, and it is so lovely. So I'll look forward to that. And I also got a little candle, apple and cinnamon, and I love me a scented candle. And this is so festive. I might have to save it for autumn. Anyway, so I've got my little festive scented candle. So thank you so much, Cherie, for all those gorgeous things. I really enjoyed doing my little swap with you. I feel thoroughly spoiled with all these beautiful gifts, and I can't wait to start using my beautiful bag. Shall we put it here so we can admire it whilst I'm talking? Okay, the other thing I wanted to show you was a knife. Yes. Bear with. Right, I have it. So one day in December before Christmas, Amazon knocked at the door, which I tend to do a lot in December before Christmas, and I had to sign something to prove that I was over 18, and it was addressed to Dan, and I was like, what on earth has he ordered? So I've got something in my eye. So I was thinking, what on earth has he ordered that I have to sign for to prove I'm over 18? Well, it turns out he had ordered a knife. This terrifies everyone when I get it out. They're like, no, don't do that. I'm not renowned for being not clumsy, let's just say that. I have a knife. which I'm showing to you on a knitting podcast. So that's not going to be the thumbnail at all. It's got a specific name. A Mora knife, I think it's called. What does it say? Mora knife. Mora knife. I don't know if that's going to come out because it's like a black imprint. And he also got me, thank goodness, these special gloves. These are you couldn't sort of stab the knife accidentally into your hand, but if you were chopping, they're really good for kids apparently if they're learning to chop with sharp knives and so on, because it's hard to slice through them, so it kind of protects you from getting a serious cut on your fingers. And the reason I had these is because I wanted to try whittling. And I was going on about it for ages and ages and ages, and so he went and he got me the gloves and the knife so that a bit later this year I can get some wood and start to try a bit of whittling. It was something my dad used to do, and I got a book out the library about it, and I don't know, I just really fancied the idea of doing it and just sculpting things. I would really like to be able to make a spoon, you know, a usable thing out of just a piece of wood. It looks hard, so I don't know when I'm going to be brave enough to get around to trying it, but I'm really pleased to have that, and also slightly terrified to have this. So that was a Christmas gift from Dan that I thought I'd share with you. What else? Oh yes, lovely Vicky, who is Ice Flower Crochet. She has a lovely podcast. She's in Japan, and she sent me a little bunch of gifts from Japan, and it was so brilliant. And I shared some of it during Vlogmas, and I just wanted to show you one of the things I saved to open on Christmas Day. And it's this gorgeous little tin. I don't know if you can see, but it's got little Japanese letters all around the top, and it's actually a black tea. And she put a little note in because obviously I can't read the ingredients because it's all in Japanese. It is black tea with lavender, blueberry, cornflower, it's Indian Assam tea. And it says, because on the front it's called Koporka, I'm saying that wrong, I know, but they are the indigenous fairy folk to where she lives, I'm guessing. So that's what they are on the front, little fairies. And she also sent 2 bags of sea glass from Japan. She said she didn't collect this, she actually got it from a craft fair. So we've got brown sea glass and then white and blue. And I never find blue sea glass, so that was really fascinating to have. And I can't wait to get those out on display in our bathroom. So that was another lovely, lovely gift. So thank you, Vicky. I was really, really pleased, and the girls really loved the sea glass. And also the little things that you sent them, which I shared previously on Vlogmas. Right, 2 more things that I wanted to share with you. My mum got me this. It's an I-cord bracelet knitting kit from the Knitting Gift Shop. She bought me this because I spotted it at the Southern Wool Show, and I've already got one. I'm wearing mine, so I have already made one. Anyway, this is a slightly different design. You make it with I-cord, and then there's a clasp in there, so she got me that. So I thought I'd show you that because I'll be making that at some point this year. And then finally, you will have seen this briefly on Vlogmas. I got this as Secret Santa at work. We get to put a wish list for our Secret Santa, and I put this on my wish list and I got it. And it's the 2020 Seasonal Guide Almanac by Leah Leendertz, which is this. I had the 2019 one. I loved it so much. I refer to it all the time, and it changes slightly every year. So you get the basic things. You get the notes about all the different days and gardening by the moon. You get the moonrise and set dates, the sunrise and set dates, and the tide timetables, sea temperatures. You get things about nature, things about flowers. You get a source of the month. Last year it was a cheese of the month, now it's source of the month. Recipes, songs, traditions, festivals, that kind of thing. It's fascinating, and for me, getting more in touch or back in touch with nature is part of protecting my mental health, and this helps with it. So I can highly recommend it. I've really enjoyed these almanacs. This is my second one, and yeah, there you go. Oh, I'll read you the little blurb on the back. It says, reconnect with the seasons with this month-by-month guide to the world around you, including key dates, moon phases and meteor showers, sunrises and tide timetables, hedgerows and garden tasks, seasonal sauces and recipes, celebrations and songs. Right, that is everything for my incoming. Okay, sharing the love. I wanted to do a very quick sharing the love because I watched a new podcast the other night. I don't know, do I keep doing this? I feel like I spent a lot of time in this podcast doing this. I feel like Les Dawson. Okay, stop doing that. I don't know why I'm doing that. Right, Lindsay, who is Stitch Create Love. I followed her on Instagram for a while. She's actually a sewer. She has her own sewing business here in the UK, but she's also a knitter and general crafter, and she has started a podcast. You will love her. She talks about sewing, she talks about knitting and crafts. Her first episode, she's a total natural. It's about an hour long. She's a fellow rambler, and by rambler I don't mean she loves going for walks. I mean she talks a lot, she rambles a lot, she uses lots of words which might remind you of someone else, but yes. Yeah, she's really, really lovely. I'll put a link to her podcast below. I promise you, you're going to absolutely love her. You'll be 10 minutes in and settling down thinking, this is lovely. So go and check her out. That's Lindsay of Stitch Create Love. Right, Strictly Sock Along 2019. I am so excited to finally be drawing the rest of the prizes for the Strictly Sock Along. It's one of the highlights of my year. This is the third year now that it's been running, and it will definitely run again in 2020. I have been considering a slightly different approach to it this year, and I wanted to introduce a charity element. And as I was thinking about that, I had a message from someone suggesting the very same thing and suggesting a charity. So I'm not going to say anything about that until much later in the year, but just to get you all a bit excited for the 2020 Strictly Sock Along. Okay, and there will be a specific pattern this year for the Strictly Sock Along 2020, and there will also be an official yarn. I know lots of yarn dyers do get on board and dye yarns and things just to get into the Strictly spirit, but last year we did an official yarn which was by a lovely Sam at Betsy Makes, and an official pattern which was lovely Sandra at Cherry Heart, and this year it will be similar but with a different designer and a different dyer, which is really nice to get to collaborate. Is that the right word? Am I official enough to collaborate? I don't think so. Anyway, I'll stop rambling and we'll get on to that later in the year. Right, Strictly Sock Along 2019. I closed the FO thread last night, which was on Sunday, the 12th of January. So you had plenty of time to get all your finished socks in there. We had 287 pairs of finished socks, which is amazing. We had 1,018 posts in the chatter thread as of last night, and there were almost 600 posts on Instagram. So you have really got into the spirit of it this year. It's been fantastic. As usual, I've been woefully bad at joining in with the chatter myself, but I have been reading it and it's been brilliant. And the FO thread in particular is so good because you get to read everyone's cheating. Okay, so a little bit of stats for you. The threads have both been so positive, so lovely and chatty, and I wanted to just let you know the top performers. Top of the leaderboard with 14 pairs of socks knit for the Strictly Sock Along is Shelley, who is Kiki Lucy. She's in Canada. Then in the 9 category, so those that knit 9 pairs, were Lynn Wilcox, who is Lynn Diane, who has also donated a prize and won a prize, which is really good. So she knit 9 pairs, as did Hilary, who is Ruatha, and Peggy, who is B-O-R-K-P, Bork. In the 8 pairs category, we've got Diane in Melbourne. She is Lime Happy Cat. And we have got Peregrinea, which I think I'm saying correctly. I do know your name and where you are, and because you won a prize, but as it's not on Ravelry, I'm not going to say, just in case. In the 7 pairs category, we've got Sue HB, that's Susan Hardy. She's in Essex, and she has patterns for sale on Ravelry, and one of those is the Gypsophilia socks, which you may recognise because she gave a pattern to the podcast to give away last year. Also in the 7 pairs category, we've got Marie. She is her Ravelry name is ReenDell97. Hi Marie. She's actually on Instagram as Hector Loves Crafting, I think. In the 6 pairs category, we've got Marta, who is in Switzerland. She's Auntie Marta. We did a swap last year. You would have seen me wearing the hat that she made me on my Vlogmas. T Pring, who is Tracy in Connecticut. Socks Knits, who is Heather. And in the 5 pair category, we have Angela in the USA. She's Angela 8626. Miss Morley 805, that's Christy in California. Penelope Flump, which is a brilliant name, and that's Claire, she's in the UK. And there are also others that knit 4 pairs, 3 pairs, 2 pairs, 1 pair, or in my case, no pairs, because I didn't finish my Strictly socks this year. And I spoke about that earlier in the podcast, so you already know that. 5 pairs were crocheted. 1 person posted mittens, but with socks, so that's okay. It counted as 1 entry. And we had 1 broken foot as well. People entered from, now I went through last night and I wrote down all of the locations from everyone that posted. So here is the list of places from which people participated in the Strictly Sock Along, which means all of these places currently house Strictly socks. Sheffield, Wales, California, Wisconsin, Canada, Connecticut, the Netherlands, Tennessee, Ohio, Norway, Dumfries and Galloway, Essex, New York, Stanley, which is in the UK, Shropshire, Auckland, New Zealand, South Africa, Oklahoma, Nottinghamshire, Somerset, Missouri, the Isle of Man, Surrey, Denmark, Staffordshire, Dublin in Ireland, Switzerland, Idaho, Lismore, also in Ireland, Edinburgh, Croydon in South London, Maidstone, North Dakota, Norfolk, Buckinghamshire, Mottingham, High Lorraine, Berkshire, Appleton, Northern Ireland, Maine, Virginia, Leeds, Texas, West Sussex, East Sussex, Hereford and Worcester, Northamptonshire, Stockton-on-Tees, Bedfordshire, hi Sandra, Hampshire, Germany, Poland, Derbyshire, Cornwall, London, Rhode Island, Devon, Mersey Island, which I had to Google, it's in Essex, Florida, Worcestershire, Moscow in Russia, Cheshire, Greece, and the Wirral. And there were also, and I just had to say this separately, there were 5 people who entered the Strictly Sock Along who are in Australia, and I just wanted to say a big hug to all of you, because I know that your country is going through a really tough time. At the moment, we watch it here on the news and we just can't comprehend the size of what is happening. So sending lots and lots of love to all of you in Australia. Right, that's the stats out the way. Let's get on with giving out the prizes. So we've already given out a number of prizes. I'm just gonna stop talking for a minute and get my spreadsheet. Right, I'm gonna have to peer at my iPad for this because the writing is really tiny. I'm supposed to wear glasses, but I never get around to getting them. Okay, so I'm still waiting to hear from one of the Halloween winners, and that is Emma's Woolly Wonders. So Emma, this is your last call for Flight Strictly Sock Along 2019. Could you please get in touch with me on Ravelry or Instagram with your address, and I can get your prize sent out to you. You have won the wonderful Fright Night colourway from Suzanne, lovely Suzanne at Green Lampkin Yarns. I will show it to you to remind you. It's all in its lovely packaging, so I didn't want to take it out and ruin it. But this is the Fright Night colourway from Green Lampkin Yarns. You can just about see the card there behind the ribbon. And you've also won a little grab bag from Attic Spin Dye. There's some little minis in here, some tea, some lavender, and all of that. I won't go into great detail showing all the prizes. So yeah, Emma, get in touch with me, and if you don't, then I will just draw another winner at random from the FO thread in the next episode. Other than that, all the other prizes have gone out, and as far as I'm aware, they've all been received and everyone is happy. So let's make some more people happy. So the first category that I've got to draw winners for is the Fabulous category. Now, we did originally have 6 prizes for this, but one of them didn't materialise. So I'm going to make a dodgy bag. So one of the prizes I can't show you because it doesn't exist yet, but I didn't want there to be less than 6 winners because I wanted to draw 2 from the FO thread, 2 from the chatter thread, and 2 from the Instagram hashtag. So stop rambling, and without further ado, the first one that I drew using our friend Alexa was at random from the FO thread, post number 127. And that is Hayley in Canada. That is Hayley. She knit 3 pairs, but the winning post for her was her Knit Like It's 1999 socks by Tricot and Stitch. It's a free pattern, it's really lovely. If you go and check out post 127 on the FO thread, all the threads are underneath this video. you'll be able to see them. She has a lovely Instagram feed. I've been following her for a while, and I think she's also recently started dyeing yarn as well under fiber weed or something. Anyway, Hayley, get in touch with me, give me your address. You have won, oh, I should tell you what you've won. You've won a dodgy bag by me, which does exist, and I shall show you, and another of the Attic Spin Dye Minis bags. So let me just dig those out to show you. So the dodgy bag is using this lovely fabric. I love this fabric. It's a yoga fabric, and this fabric at the bottom is reused from a pair of Dan's old sort of trousers. And then in the lining is a vintage duvet. It's really lovely and smooth and soft. I really like this. And it's drawstring, and it's got little taggy bits on it, and it's certified dodgy. And you get with it the little pouch from Attic Spin Dye, and in there you get 2 minis in the daffodil and the vibrant iris colourways. I'm just going to hold them up very quickly. And you also get a few other bits in there, some tea, some stitch markers, and a little lavender pouch. So I will pop that in the post to you if you could just get in touch and give me your address. So that's our first winner from the fabulous prize category. Okay, the next one in the fabulous prize category, fabulous, was also from the FO thread, post 136. That was Carrie Seema. She has no name or no location, so she's a mystery winner. I'm assuming possibly your name might be Carrie. She knit a lovely, cosy looking pair of socks. I think they might have been knit with a slightly thicker yarn. They looked really, really nice. And Carrie, if that is your name, you have won a bag from Butternut Handsmade that was donated by lovely Conchetta. I'm putting a picture up of it now because I don't have it. Conchetta is going to send that to you directly. So if you could get in touch with me on Ravelry or Instagram, I'm Starry Eyes Ali on both, and give me your address, and I will pass it on to Conchetta so she can get that sent out to you. So congratulations and well done. Okay, the next fabulous prize winner was from the chatter thread this time. And again, using Alexa, we did the random number generator. She pulled out post 535. The winner, I was really, really happy about this, was our Minty, because she has been so chatty and helpful in that thread. And I've noticed where I haven't answered questions, our Minty is one of the people who goes in and just answers it for me because I'm rubbish and she's not. But what made me laugh is the post that was brought up as the winning post that she'd written says, a 1,771.5 pound pumpkin, that is over half the weight of my car. And that was in reply to someone else. I really must go back and try and work out what that conversation was about. Anyway, our Minty, I'm really glad you have won the gorgeous cloud DPN holder and the pouch and the stitch markers from lovely Eva at Coco and Flora. I'm putting a picture up on the screen now. Eva has an Etsy shop, Coco and Flora, and everything she does is so unique and perfection. I'm very lucky enough to own a couple of Eva's things, and they are just gorgeous. So she's very kindly, she will be sending that directly to you in Canada. I think I already have your address, so you don't need to send it to me. I just need to remember to tell Eva that you're the winner. Okay, the next fabulous winner is post 245 from the chatter thread, and that was Socks Knits, and that is Heather, and you're in the Isle of Man, and you have won a skein of yarn from Little French Meadow. Now I have checked with them, so Little French Meadow are no longer dyeing, and I can't talk about it because they were my favourite dyers ever. I did check with them that was okay. I checked with Alison and she said absolutely, she still has a skein of the fabulous colourway, which is a Strictly colourway, which she will send to you. So if you could just get in touch with me on Ravelry or Instagram with your address, and I will get Alison to send you that skein of yarn. So congratulations. Okay, 2 more fabulous winners. The first one, these are both from the Instagram hashtag now. So the first one, so what I did with Instagram was I went down my phone, looked through the hashtag, closed my eyes, scrolled up and down like this, and then just hit, because that just seemed the quickest way to do it for an Instagram hashtag. So the first one that came up was Becky is knitting. So that'll be Becky then. And she has won, oh, you've won a really good prize. So, I mean, they're all really good prizes, but this is the one I didn't want to give away. well, I didn't want to give any of them away, but I bought this. So, right, okay, let's go backwards a bit. I bought this one at the Southern Wool Show. Was it the Southern Wool Show? Yes, at the Southern Wool Show, specifically as a prize for the Strictly Sock Along, but it's been painful because I really wanted it for myself. And I will stop rambling and show you it. So Becky, you have won this gorgeous yarn. It's by Lola at Third Vault Yarns, who I've spoken about quite a bit before. She's a really, really interesting dyer, and she bases a lot of her colourways on sort of sci-fi, sort of geeky, sort of programmes and films and things. This one is on her librarian sock base. The colourway is Oh No, Not Again. I don't know what that reference is. Someone did tell me and I've forgotten. That's the Third Vault Yarns tag, and this is the colour. Oh my goodness, it's so pretty. So you've won that, and to go with it you've also won one of Suzanne at Inside Number 22's spotty DPN holders, and this one's extra long as well, so you can use it for your shorter or longer DPNs. It's absolutely brilliant. I've got a couple of these that Suzanne has made and they're brilliant. So that's going to go with that. Don't they look nice together? Just wrap that up in tissue paper. So Becky, get in touch with me on Instagram, Starry Eyes Alley, or Ravelry, Starry Eyes Alley, and give me your address and I'll get that sent out to you. Okay, the next Instagram winner, obviously I don't have a prize, so I'm going to be making you a dodgy bag. And the winner that came out randomly with my closing my eyes and pressing post was Witchcraft and Stitchery. That is Laura, you're in the UK. And yeah, so you've won a prize that doesn't exist yet. So if you can get in touch with me to let me know you've seen this on Ravelry or Instagram, give me your address and I'll get something sent out to you as a prize. Okay. The next category is rule bending. So this is the one I get to choose myself. It's not random, I just get to choose who I like to give the prizes to, who I'm particularly impressed with. So the first one I've chosen had to be Wobbly Frog. This is Sarah. She was slightly hampered by wine and Kelvin at points and had to frog back a bit, but she did manage to get there in the end, and she even added pom-poms quite late on for a bit of added Strictly magic. I'm going to put a picture up of the socks that she made and you will see why she had to win a prize. The socks that she made are, well, she's called them in honour of Strictly, so she could make them her Strictly socks, the Disco Kitty socks. The pattern is the Kitty Cats, or the Kissy Mirit socks pattern by Lumi Karmitsa. And I think you'll agree, they're pretty astounding. They do glow in the dark, or they're like, they'll glow under a UV torch as well. So I will also put that picture up as well. They were just stunning socks. So Sarah, you had to win a prize, and you have won, I will show you, hang on, I'll get it out. You have won a mystery box from Jo at Pickle Lily. She donated this as a prize and I got one too, so I actually know what's inside and I know you're in for a treat. So you're only going to see the box because the point of it is a mystery box, so it's got to be a surprise. And you've also won a full skein of yarn from Attic Spin Dye, as well as some stitch markers and a little lavender pouch. The colourway is Vibrant Iris, that's their label there. Colourway's Vibrant Iris. And that is the colour there. It's so beautiful, and vibrant really is the word. It's a really vibrant colour, really, really saturated. And there's some little stitch markers and things there as well. So you've won that yarn and the mystery box. So well done, Sarah. Get in touch with me on Instagram or on Ravelry with your address. Let me know you've seen this video and I will get that posted out to you. Okay, the final winner is the final rule bending winner, and I chose this one this morning because I've been really struggling to choose one because you were all so devious. The rule bending element of the Strictly Sock Along is my favourite bit because people get so creative and so silly and the links get more and more tenuous. And I just love that kind of thing. So there were so many excellent examples of really bad cheating going on. So if you would like to go and look at the chatter thread and the FO thread, you will find out all of those stories. And it was really hard to pick a winner. But in the end, I had to go with my heart with this one because this really spoke to me. The winner of the final prize is Angela. She's in the UK and her Ravelry name is Angelic22 Books. And I had to choose Angela because not only did she cheat, but she managed to cheat with a Red Dwarf theme. Now, Red Dwarf was a sci-fi sitcom in the 1980s or 90s. I can't remember, but I was obsessed with it. And I binge watched it on VHS tape. That's how long ago it was. I was a huge fan of it. I was a member of the fan club, and she put in her rule bending that her husband had pretended in a previous time that he had made microwaved pea on toast for her son's dinner. Which is a total reference to a Red Dwarf episode where Lister ends up going, "I've lost me pea." So I can't find a video on YouTube to link to show you what I'm on about, but yeah, it did make me laugh. Anyway, she knit whilst laughing at the memory of that, and also while her husband was watching reruns of Red Dwarf. And the Strictly link in there is that Danny John Jules, who played the cat in Red Dwarf, was a contestant in 2018. I couldn't not choose her. And then I had to go onto Ravelry and see if there was any Red Dwarf related patterns. And I could only find one. It's the Red Dwarf socks. It's a free pattern. It's by Christy Payne. And there are two versions, short and knee-high. And I think I might have to make them. They are based on the song that the cat sings when he's going to eat dinner, which is, "I'm gonna eat you little fishy." And I have to stop talking about Red Dwarf now because I seem like a complete dweeb. Okay, what have you won, Angela? You have won some fabulous yarn. This is the only skein of yarn of this type in existence. It's got a beautiful label. This is by Landon at Crafty Corn. He very kindly donated this some time ago as a prize, and I'm delighted to be able to give it away at last. It's got a really special colourway name. It's called Little Drops of Wonderful. I've forgotten how soft this is, my goodness. It is Glimmercorn fingering. So it is 70% fine superwash merino, 25% nylon, 5% stellina. Yeah, so, oh, it's so soft, so soft. And with that, you've also got one of Suzanne's spotty DPN holders. So there we go, well done. Get in touch with me, all the prize winners. If I don't already have your address, please get in touch with me on Ravelry or Instagram, and I will get your prizes sent out to you. Thank you to everyone who took part in the Strictly Sock Along this year. It was absolutely fantastic. I'm really looking forward to it being even bigger and better next year. And I am really putting things in place so that I can be more involved from beginning to end. Yeah, it's been brilliant. And thank you to all who carried through on the chatter thread. You're still chatting away in there. It's so good. Friendships have been made. Strictly socks are out there in the world. The magic of Strictly will stay with us throughout the year. And yeah, it's been brilliant. And I'm going to enjoy for some time still catching up with the FO thread and just admiring all the socks and working out which of the patterns I want to make too. Okay, and finally, so if you haven't watched before, and finally, it's a bit where I can just talk about what I like, and it might be about crafts or it might be about other stuff. And I've got a few things to share with you this episode. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was my word of the year. I'm just going to get my notes in front of me. So the word of the year thing is a kind of new thing to me. It had never occurred to me to do that before until last year. And I picked a word for the year last year, and that was simplify. I've failed at that in some aspects and succeeded in others. But honestly, just to have a word at the back of your mind for the year, just to set some intentions around everything you're doing, makes such a huge difference that I was really quite impressed how such a small thing at the beginning of the year could make such a difference. And I wanted to do it again this year. So I thought long and hard about what my word could be and what I wanted to get out of this coming year, and where I wanted to see myself in a year's time. And I think my word of the year is going to be stash. Now, that might raise quite a lot of questions, so I shall try to explain. It's mainly for my yarny life, but not entirely. I'm only going to use stash this year. I'm not going to be buying any yarn unless I'm buying it for a gift. For example, I've already bought some yarn for my sister. It's not coming into my house, it's going out to hers. and I won't be accepting any more yarn either. I have been extremely fortunate to have been gifted a lot of amazing yarn, and people often will donate prizes to this podcast, which is generous enough, but then when the prize arrives there'll be extras in there for me, which is such an incredibly generous and kind thing for people to do. I find it really hard to express my thanks for things or really put into words how grateful I am for stuff. And really, when stuff arrives in my home for me, I could not be more grateful for it or more chuffed, or like I spend time with it when it comes in. This is going to make me sound so weird, but like for example, all the gifts I received over Vlogmas I have in one big box so that I can bring it out and put it on the bed and sit and spend time with it and experience it over again and turn it over and read about it and remember the person that gave it to me. And I will go through that process for quite a long time before it gets dispersed into stash or used or, you know, absorbs into your life in the way things do. When you bring stuff in, it eventually absorbs into your home, doesn't it? And I have a spreadsheet and I keep a list of absolutely everything that people have given me, and I feel extremely grateful for all of that, and I'm absolutely very, very humbled by the fact that you wish to do that. And I do know that feeling. I get that feeling too. I want to send stuff to people that I watch, and I have done that as well, but I have more than I know what to do with, which is an amazing position to be in. I have all the yarn that I could possibly need for quite a long time, but it can also be quite overwhelming, especially for someone like me who suffers a little bit from indecision. So I want to use that. I want to appreciate the stuff that I've been given by using it. That's what I want to do, and by using it I can talk about it, which, you know, means I can talk about the dyers and hopefully that therefore support people's businesses. Yeah, so it's important for me that I want to use that and not feel like I'm taking more than I deserve. And I know that sounds bizarre, but I do sometimes feel that I receive more than I deserve to receive. And I just want to thank you all for feeling that you wish to do that. The best thing you can do for this podcast is to let the adverts run. You don't have to watch them, but let them run whilst you're fiddling about and getting comfy and getting your knitting ready and everything like that, because that gives me an income from doing this podcast, which makes it possible to keep doing it, because the more you do it and the more subscribers you have and the bigger platform you have, the more responsibility you have, and the content should reflect that people are putting their trust in me by subscribing to me to provide some interesting content. That takes a lot of time, and getting a monetary return for that makes that time justified. Right, I'm going to stop talking because I'm rubbish at it, but that's what I'm going for in my yarn life. So I'm going to go to yarn festivals, but I won't be buying any yarn, and I'm going to be using what I have this year and then see where we are at the end of this year and see how much that stash has reduced, and how much I've managed to use just by knitting what I already have. I'm doing that again. What is it with this? Oh my goodness. I will still be accepting yarn, etc. for giveaways and prizes. Of course I will. You just don't put anything in extra for me. I recognise that prizes are I love giving things away, and also it's mutually beneficial, because perhaps if you've got a yarn dyeing business or another crafty type business and you wish to donate something to give away, that's a little bit of a shout out as well. I'm more than happy to do that and to lift up and support all the small businesses out there that are making their living from this crafty community that we're in. So I want to continue supporting in that way. So yeah, definitely, if you want to send prizes for the Strictly Sock Along for 2020 or any other things going on, then just get in touch with me. That would be fantastic, but just don't feel that you have to put in extra for me. There you go. Okay, this is going to apply in the rest of my life though as well, because I was thinking about it just from a stash yarn point of view, and then I realised actually I can apply this to the rest of my life in and this sort of applies to being wasteful, not buying more than I need, not wasting food, thinking of ways to use up leftovers. I already do this quite a lot, but to really, really focus on that more, making more use of our garden to grow things, you know, making use of the things we have so that we can become a little bit more self-sufficient. We never grow, I'm a terrible gardener, and we don't grow vegetables, and it'd be brilliant if we did that, because the girls would learn so much, and there's nothing like eating your own vegetables. We have done it in the past, Like the first time we ate one of our own cucumbers, it was just amazing. Just like, wow, look at this, we just grew it. So I definitely want to do more of that and apply that to other areas of my life. There's a lot going on. We're doing our bedroom this year. So obviously we'll be stripping stuff out, but what could we reuse in doing that? You know, is there anything we could recycle? You know, little things like that, and just being a little bit more mindful of using what we have or passing on what we don't need. Keeping things out of landfill and that kind of thing. I learn a lot from watching Gaynor at Tales from Cuckoo Land. She talks a lot about reducing waste, so that's very inspiring as well. And I've started watching quite a few other podcasts around that kind of area and about you know, growing your own vegetables and things like that. So yeah, I think I can apply it in that way, and in a monetary way. I'm just going to sit up a bit. In a monetary way, Dan and I have been talking a lot about the future, and we're going to make a 5-year plan. We've drifted a lot over the last few years. I think we were thrown quite a lot by a few life events. I had a major operation in 2012, but that was 8 years ago now. But it really was a year in recovery, and I struggled mentally with what had happened to me and my body. I'd had postnatal depression. When I had my operation, Phoebe wasn't even 2. And then we had Dan, and that same year Dan's dad died. And then a few years later, Dan was very unwell, and then my dad died. And it just happens, life just happens, and we feel like in the meantime, we've drifted. So we've been talking about making an actual focused 5-year plan about where we want to be, or where we can be in 5 years, and how we're going to get there. And part of that involves saving and money, like things like overpaying the mortgage, maybe investing some money, and just making sure that our finances are going to be future-proof for us so that we can get where we want to be. In short, that's my word of the year, stash. I hope that all makes sense. What's your word of the year? Let me know in the comments below. Do you have a word for the year? And is it similar to mine, or you know, or do you have the same kind of goals in mind, or what do you think about choosing a word for the year, or an intention for the year? I'd really love to hear what you're all doing, so do leave me a comment below. And while you're on your way down there, don't forget to press like, because that tells YouTube that you like this video, and it will suggest more videos like mine, so that it will be more tailored to your experience on YouTube. At least that's what I understand. Okay, there's something else I wish to talk about, and finally, there's 2 more things. But they kind of tie in together, so let's talk about them together. I shared on Instagram earlier this month that I was struggling. I'm not going to go into a great amount of detail, because I will talk about it over the coming weeks. But I will say that I have struggled a lot over the last 7 or 8 months, but it really has started to come to a head over the last 4 to 6 weeks with severe anxiety. And I know it's very hard. You watch me prancing about in Vlogmas, and I watch those videos back sometimes, and I just think, who's that happy person there? And I do, to all intents and purposes, lead a happy life. And I recognise the things that I should be grateful for. But I struggle with anxiety for many, many reasons, and for many, many causes. Some of which are beyond my control, and some of which are very hard to live with. I don't want this to sound really cagey, but you know, the core of it is anxiety, and I know a lot of you can relate to that. So that's what I'm going through, and I will talk about mental health over the coming year a lot more, and maybe talk a little bit more about the detail of what I've been going through once I feel in a bit of a more stable place. I think that would be the right way to put it, and the right course of action to take. But as part of that, so a person who has sent something, so Lynn, hi Lynn, got in touch with me. She's sent a prize for the Strictly Sock Along, and she's also been a prize winner, and she sent me a lovely gift as well. And so that's not where the story begins. Let me begin the story on my drive to work on Friday. So on Friday, I got in my car to go to work. I leave for work at about 7:30 in the morning. And I usually listen to an audiobook, I'm listening to a book by Ruby Wax about anxiety and mindfulness, but I just wasn't in the mind space to be having an educational drive to work. And I wanted something a bit more light, so I thought I'd listen to a podcast. And I've mentioned the Happy Place podcast before. The presenter is Fern Cotton, who's a UK television presenter. And it's all about talking to people about how they found sort of calmness and peace in their lives, deal with anxiety, mental health issues. She talks to a huge variety of people about it. It's a really good podcast. There's no limits on things like swearing and stuff, but in that context I don't mind it. It's not like gratuitous swearing like you get in like some television shows, and you know, we all swear. But I would say the reason I'm pointing that out is because you might not want to listen to it with your kids in the car. So I thought, right, I'm going to select one of these podcasts to listen to, and normally I will select a celebrity that she's interviewing or a well-known figure that I recognise or know, because you know, it makes it quite, you can engage with it a bit more. But I didn't have time and I couldn't be bothered, and the particular podcast that had popped up looked quite interesting. Didn't recognise the woman's name, and I thought I'd listen to that. And it was a interview with Sarah Wilson, who I'd never heard of, but she wrote the I Quit Sugar books. She's Australian, I think, and yeah, so they were chatting about that and anxiety, and it turns out that she's written a book about anxiety as well, and she just seemed like a really interesting person. I really enjoyed the interview. She sold her I Quit Sugar business and donated all the money to charity. And now I think when she does any work related to that, like talks and things, she donates any money she earns from that and matches it with her own money and donates that to charity, which I thought made her a very interesting person. And I haven't quite finished the podcast. I've still got about 20 minutes left of it to listen to because I arrived at work. But when I got to work, I thought, right, I'm going to look up this book she was talking about that she wrote. It was called Making the Beast Beautiful. And I looked it up on Amazon, and I looked at the reviews, and I looked at the synopsis, and I thought, yeah, I really like the idea of that. So I put it in my Amazon basket thinking I might go and see if I can get it at the library, or I might see if I can get it on eBay, a second-hand copy, cheaper. And if not, I'll just get the one from Amazon. And then at lunchtime, I thought, right, I'm going to catch up on some emails. I'd had some emails that had come in over the past few weeks that I hadn't looked at. And I was going through them and replying. And I opened one from Lynn. And it said, I've done something really silly. I've popped something in the post tube, but I didn't put a note in. I forgot to put a note in. So when it arrives, just so you know, it's from me. And it's a book called Making the Beast Beautiful. You probably haven't heard of her. She's Australian, called Sarah Wilson. I bought it for a friend, but she already had a copy, so I thought I'd send it to you. And literally, I'd got to work maybe 3.5, 4 hours earlier and put that book in my Amazon basket, having listened to the podcast just on a whim on my way to work that morning. And I open an email and someone says, I'm sending you that book. The universe is a peculiar place sometimes. I think you'll agree that was a bit spooky. So I just wanted to share that story with you, because I think as Lynn said to me when I told her about this, she replied, I can't remember her exact words, but she basically said, you know, the universe will bring you what you need at that time, and it's hard to believe that sometimes until something like that happens. So yeah, pretty amazing. Right, I think that's enough waffling from me. So all that remains for me now is to say goodbye, and I will see you in 2 weeks' time. This podcast should go live on Tuesday the 14th of January, which means the next episode should be live on Tuesday the 21st of January. No, because that would be 1 week, wouldn't it? It will be Tuesday the 28th of January, hopefully. So the point is, it'll be another 2 weeks. Anyway, take care. Happy knitting, happy crocheting, happy crafting, and I'll see you next time. Bye.